approval of the Charter of the United Nations.
Back in 1945, following two devastating world wars, representatives of 50 countries came together with a promise. No more world wars, uphold international law, protect human rights, improve lives. 75 years later, we've been spared another world war, but a microscopic scourge is now ravaging nations, claiming lives and devastating economies.
On United Nations Day, I reinforce my appeal for a global ceasefire so we can devote all our energies to fighting COVID-19. And let us act together now to defeat the pandemic, to prevent climate catastrophe, uphold the equality of women and men, and pave the way for a safer, healthier, more just and sustainable world.
It's a lot to handle, but the UN is the only world body with the reach, the resources and the scope provided for by the UN Charter. That charter defines the core principles of the UN and paved the way for a multilateral approach to international emergencies, conflict resolution, peacekeeping, development and humanitarian aid.
You know, I think the concepts, the ideals that are found in this little blue book lays the basis for the multilateral system that we have today. Obviously, in 1945, you know, the UN was created more of as a talk shop, as an organization that was norm setting. But, you know, peacekeeping is not mentioned anywhere in the UN Charter. It was invented.
Also invented under the UN umbrella, the World Health Organization, now leading the global COVID-19 response.
This is not a drill.
The United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, stockpiling syringes for distribution when COVID vaccines become available. The World Food Programme, combating hunger where pandemic restrictions have disrupted food supply chains. And the UN agencies that help refugees and protect human rights further threatened by the global health crisis.
The number of specialized UN agencies has multiplied over the past 7.5 decades, well positioning the UN to deploy into the field in times of crisis. But the number of member nations has also greatly increased, from 50 countries in 1945 to 193 nations today, and that has often made consensus difficult to reach.
Disagreements within the UN's most powerful arm, the Security Council, have come with a high cost. Bickering among key member nations has stymied efforts to resolve protracted conflicts and civil wars, prevent genocide and human rights abuse, and defeat the pandemic.
At the Security Council, we failed to have a COVID resolution, as we called it, for months and months on end. And so you do stop and you think, you know, if at this huge moment where the entire world is embroiled in this, you know, potentially catastrophic virus, the Security Council can't agree on a statement and pass it. You know, you really have to think about, you know, what this body, you know, whether this body's become so politicized that it's useless on the big issues.
As the UN turns 75, the coronavirus is testing the multilateral system like never before. And UN watchers say how united these nations are in taking on today's pandemic could shape how we tackle bigger issues like climate change tomorrow. Li Lingtan, CGTN, New York.